안녕하세요. Riding on the Korean wave. Welcome to a brand new week on The Culture Wave. I'm Kwon So-ah in Seoul. Explore with us Korea's culture from all aspects and stay up to date with K-entertainment, K-trends, K-people, K-everything. And we kick off the new week with our co-host Walter Lee joining me in the studio. Hello, Walter.
Hello, Soa, and hello to all the viewers at home. Yes, I'm Walter Lee, your co-host with the most, to give you your daily dose of K-Enter news.
Well, we've got a big focus on K-entertainment today. I mean, Squid Game 3 is out. And we're also going to talk about rebranding of K-pop groups in the latter part of the segment. But we're also going to talk about K-pop with our Arirang's news features reporter An Sung-jin today. Hello, Sung-jin. Welcome.
Happy Monday, guys. Hello, Soa. Hello, Walter. And hello to all of our viewers. My name is An Sung-jin, and I'm a news features reporter here at Arirang News.
So, Sung-jin, we really have come to an end to your Japan series. How many coverages did you have for the Culture Wave?
We've done 4 so far.
Wow. And today, you're going to wrap up with an introduction of something that we really cannot miss out on when we talk about modern-day Korean culture, right?
Oh, absolutely. So it might be a little bit too cliche, but still so essential, which is K-pop. K-pop obviously has been Korea's global cultural export, transforming something that has been a regional genre into an international phenomenon, which is why today, and as a country with a strong fan base, I spoke to those in Tokyo who are aspiring to be the next generation K-pop idols. Have a look at it together. 11-year-old Hanae has a big dream: to become a K-pop idol. From Twice to her favorite artist Tomorrow by Together, the idol wannabe's dance practices continue day and night. Her journey began when she was an infant.
When I watch K-pop, the singing is amazing and the dancing is incredible too. It makes me think that it's something really special.
Her love for K-pop came from her mother, though she was also inspired by someone else, her grandmother. The passion for K-pop runs through 3 generations of her family.
In the past, only some people knew about and liked Korean culture. But now, it's become mainstream. Even my friends enjoy it. I think it gives people a positive motivation for life. Korean culture is now really being embraced here in Japan.
For Hanae's mother, it started with Korean fashion and then naturally merged into K-pop. Now she's glad to be supporting her daughter's dream that she had once hoped for.
I want to support her dream with all that I can. I hope she becomes a globally renowned K-pop idol. Maybe even performing at Coachella one day.
For Hanae, this means a lot of effort, whether it be learning Korean or enhancing her dance skills.
I'm working hard on my singing and dancing until I can be truly satisfied with it myself. I want to meet K-pop idols up close and not only debut in Korea, but also ultimately launch a global career.
But it's not just Hanae who has this ambitious aspiration. Students at this dance studio are also a part of a rising wave of Japanese teens captivated by K-pop who practice for hours every day. The studio has more than 1,000 registered students and offers classes for all different levels.
We've been seeing a steady increase in students over the past 7 or 8 years, but I think that number will only grow. Until recently, most students have been high schoolers, but now we're seeing a lot more kids from elementary school or those who are in their 20s as well.
It's the K-pop performance for me, and how K-pop idols really try hard and put in a lot of effort.
Kurumi has already crossed that threshold. She debuted only around a month ago as a K-pop idol in Korea and said that her dream since elementary school had come true.
It still doesn't feel real, but as we've been appearing on music shows more often these days, it's starting to sink in more and more. I hope to perform in Japan, my home country, sometime in the future.
But the phenomenon of K-pop is flowing in both directions. N-Team is a successful example of K-culture localization and draws fans from all over the world.
We just made the plans full steam. We booked a flight, we booked a hotel, and we were on our way. I think it's because the members are like so diverse. A lot of them are like multilingual.
I had been learning Korean, but I stopped for a while. After I started liking in Team, I picked it up again.
These journeys represent not only what many young hopefuls see as success, but it also signifies a cultural crossover as K-pop continues to transcend borders, languages, and generations. This next wave of idols are gearing up for their dream, one step and one beat at a time.
Wow, the excitement and the music, it all really came through in your report, Sungjin, and it kind of feels like a reversed trend. I mean, back in the days, I think Walter will probably relate to that.
Yes.
There were many friends who were into J-pop before, and now it's like a reverse trend. We have so many people into K-pop, but really, where is K-pop in Japan right now?
Right, so as you probably just felt with the enthusiasm, apart from these K-pop classes, dance studios, or even everyday like street performances, K-pop really has set foot as an everyday part of life. We can see it commonly. K-pop has been playing in stores that we go to. K-pop has been playing in some of the bookstores that we've gone to. So really, it's just disseminated wide across in the society.
Yes, and as a fan of a person who loves to go to Japan quite often, but I want to take a closer look into what exactly the K-pop market is like in Japan, and what can you actually tell us?
Right, so the consistent popularity of K-pop in Japan has been going on for decades. Japan has been basically topping the list of K-pop album export values. Now, if we take a closer look, not only that, including the concert hall that we were at in Odaiba, the Tokyo Dome is also a venue well known for K-pop artists to go and perform as a K-pop, and has been really making its way into the Japanese society. So we see K-pop has been seaming its way into Japan.
Incredible. Well, that really was the end of your series in Japan, Sungjin. Thanks for those great coverages.
Thank you for having me.
And hope to see you again pretty soon with some other reports, right?
Yes, I hope you do another 5-part series on some
in another country.
I will be back, but something maybe more exciting. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Sungjin.
Thank you.
We've been expecting to talk about Squid Game 3 in our K-Enter News segment today, and we'll do that now with Walter Lee. So, Walter, what's the latest on the final season?
Of course we were expecting it. I mean, it was released on Friday, but unfortunately we didn't get to cover it on Friday. Season 3 of Squid Game was released on Friday and soared to #1 globally just a day after its premiere. Now, according to Flix Patrol, a streaming data site, Squid Game 3, Season 3, topped the global Netflix charts and has remained in the top position. This was the last time I checked. Now, the series ranked #1 in all 93 countries monitored by Flix Patrol. This is also the same with Netflix. Now, let's go through I guess the season history now that we've got straight to the end of it. Now, when the season 1 premiered in 2021, it became Netflix's most watched series globally among both English and non-English shows, earning massive international acclaim. We can all remember that hype train. Now, Season 2, which dropped on December 26, 2024, which does not seem that long ago, and it really wasn't, also debuted at #1 during its first week, and I did look up some numbers. It made 92 out of 93 countries. In cumulative viewership, it now ranks as the 3rd most watched Netflix TV series, and obviously, I'm not going to give any spoilers away because I know some people haven't watched it all, but yes, there are very mixed opinions. A lot of people are loving it, and there are some people out there that, you know, who knows.
Walter, Bella will be a little disappointed because she did actually cover a little bit of Squid Game on Friday because she had a kind of preview about it. But of course, now it's really out, and let's see whether Season 3 can actually beat Season 2 or not. But the rankings aside, I mean, this is going to be going down as one of Korea's best, K-dramas on the global stage with a global audience. And now from one influential drama to an influential K-movie, this has been out 6 years ago, but it's still making new history.
It's making very new history. So last Friday, New York local time, the New York Times released its list of the 100 best movies of the 21st century. Now think about that, placing director Bong Joon-ho's 2019 film Parasite at the top of the list. Now, a direct quote from the Times described Parasite as a tale of haves and have-nots, and ferocious rebuke to the devastations of neoliberalism. Now, calling it the film that is pleasurably kinked and unsettling. The article praised Bong as a master of genre unbound but convention. Now, also included on the list were Bong's 2003 film Memories of a Murder, which is one of my favorites. At 99, Past Lives, the 2023 semi-autobiographical debut of Korean-Canadian director Celine Song. And at number 86, this one's a bit of an old one for people who may remember, Park Chan-wook's Old Boy at number 43. So to have 3 of Korean films in there is quite an achievement.
It is. And I mean, if Squid Game opened up a new era of K-dramas, Parasite or Kisaeng-chung really opened up a new era again for K-movies on the global stage. Now, last but not least, let's end off with an American animation movie that's actually, however, revolving around K-pop.
Yes.
And today the focus is on the soundtrack of this movie.
Yes, very heavily influenced by K-pop and K-culture. The Netflix US animated film K-pop Demon Hunters, which revolves around the world of K-pop, is gaining massive popularity across the globe. And its original soundtrack is also creating buzz. Now, on Sunday, Billboard revealed in a chart preview that K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack debuted at number 8 on the Billboard 200, the magazine's flagship albums charts. Now, this marks the highest charting soundtrack debut of the year and the first soundtrack to break into the top 10 in 2025. Now, several songs from the soundtrack have also made their way onto Spotify's charts, and the album features songs by the fictional K-pop girl group in the movie called Huntrix, and as well as their rival boy group Saja Boys.
Fun movie and great sounds and great reporting, Walter, and stick around, please.
Will do.
And now we move over to our AI anchor, Ari, for other culture-related news. Ari, take it away.
Hello and welcome to your AI guide to the latest cultural updates from Korea. Here's our top story. Korean golfers Im Jin-hee and Lee Song-mi clinched their first LPGA title on Sunday at the Dow Championship, a team event held in the U.S. state of Michigan. In the fourth and final round of the championship, the duo finished at 20 under par, forcing a playoff where they secured victory by birdieing the first hole against the American team of Lexi Thompson and Megan Kong. The pair became the 4th and 5th Korean golfers to win on the LPGA Tour this year. In celebration of the grand season finale of Netflix's global hit, Squid Game, large-scale events were held in Korea and the UK. A massive parade was showcased in central Seoul near Gwanghwamun on Saturday, the day after the release of the final season, drawing an estimated 5,000 participants. The event featured a live reenactment of the show's signature game, Red Light, Green Light, along with a parade of giant characters and iconic symbols from the series. Meanwhile, over in the UK, Newcastle's Millennium Bridge was transformed into a supersized jump rope, featuring Young-yi, the menacing doll and iconic face of the series, alongside her newest companion, Tursu. The spectacle was part of a series of global events held to bid farewell to the show. The Culture Ministry and the King Sejong Institute Foundation have designated 11 new King Sejong Institutes across 9 countries. This brings the total number of Sejong Institutes operating worldwide to 252, across 87 countries. The newly established institutes include 2 in Egypt, 6 across Asia, including Uzbekistan and the Philippines, and 3 in Europe, including Germany and Italy. The ministry aims to operate over 350 King Sejong Institutes globally by 2030, fostering a robust Korean language ecosystem across different regions. That's all from me. Stay tuned to the Culture Wave.
Idol, Gravity, Nows. These K-pop groups all have something in common. They all recently underwent a rebranding. Rebranding in marketing is the process of updating or changing a brand's identity, be it by a change in name, logo, slogan, visual, or verbal presentation. Today, we want to delve into what rebranding means for K-pop groups. And for that, we are now connected with our K-pop expert, Jeff Benjamin. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Jeff.
Hello. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for joining us on the show again. Now, let's start with the girl group Idol, which sent off the G of their former name, G-Idol, with a kind of funeral and have been continuing their successful career as a powerful K-pop idol group. So, Jeff, how do you assess the rebranding of Idol?
Yeah, Idol is a specifically very interesting situation because on one hand, they've kind of hinted that they've been interested in kind of changing the meaning of their team name. I believe it was right around their first full-length album, Never Die, I Never Die, that they were kind of removing the G a little bit or playing around with this idea that, you know, the G in G-Idol stands for girl idol, or in Korean it's Yoja Idol, which is female idol. So they were almost trying to say, we're not, you know, just for women, we're not just for one sex or one gender. We're actually trying to say that we're for everyone and we're representing all kinds of things. So G-Idol hit recently a big milestone in hitting their 7th year together under their company. This is kind of the typical year that most groups renew their contracts or they renegotiate contracts, and they ended up re-signing with their current label, Cube Entertainment. And so I have a feeling this was probably one of their stipulations of being able to stay with the company, was that they wanted to sort of be able to take a bit more ownership with their name and say, you know, we want to change the name, we want to make it represent something a little bit different, in addition to probably better terms and better pays. But something tells me that specifically this 7-year anniversary really had something to do with just wanting to better represent what they think they represent as artists in that way.
I definitely agree with that. And they don't look like they're slowing down, as we recently reported that they won a grand prize recently as well. So, and it was one of their big grand prizes. They walked away with a couple, actually. But now, next, let's talk about Gravity, a group that you have spoken about, well, quite often, Jeff. So how did they undergo a rebranding?
Yeah, so Gravity kind of surprised fans, and actually it turns out it was quite a surprise to the members themselves. It wasn't a change in name or, you know, some members changing anything like that. They kind of just announced a change of concept and a change of the members that would be leading the group. So member Serim had been leading the group up until this point, but they kind of announced that Gravity would take a new turn as a group, and members Wonjin and Hongjun would become Gravity's new leaders. So taking it from kind of one member looking over 9 different members to now 2 members, kind of being able to look over a large group like this. But it wasn't necessarily like, you know, Idol making a big change in terms of, you know, how they want to be viewed or who they are. It was more so about internally, it seems like they're going to kind of show a different side of themselves. They're going to show the potential, the growth that they have. And this comes 5 years into Gravity's career. So it's not as if Gravity has done a poor job or has not done well, but I think it almost feels like they wanted to sort of refresh and get themselves excited once again, and maybe get their fans excited again. The members did say that this news was kind of a surprise to them, especially the members, especially the leaders changing. But it seems to be kind of an exciting change, and I'm very curious to kind of see where this new style goes. Gravity was always a very strong, you know, hard-hitting group. This new video that they released with their second full-length album, it's kind of a bit more real, bit more honest, bit more raw and grungy. So maybe we're going to see a more honest side of Gravity moving forward.
So you just touched upon it a little bit, but Jeff, why are these K-pop groups doing this? Why are they rebranding?
Yeah, there's kind of a couple things going on here, right? Is that I remember personally when I got into K-pop and really started watching it, especially in sort of that second generation of groups, there weren't as many groups coming out. This is like 2008, 2009, and a lot more groups kind of had the ability to experiment and try on different concepts and do different styles. I remember my favorite group when I first got into K-pop was After School, and every single time they changed from hip hop to dance to they did tap dancing, they did drum lines, they always brought something new. And I think you could experiment a bit like that because there wasn't as much competition, and these days it's really hard to kind of stand out as a group. And I think that's one of the big things, is that a rebrand can kind of reestablish yourself in the market, try something new, try to reestablish yourself, especially if you're not feeling like you're getting the results that your team really wants to get.
Well, I guess the most important people to sort of respect in this situation are the fans. And so how are the fans reacting to this sort of rebranding of certain groups? And are you seeing maybe a difference between, let's say, the domestic fans versus the overseas fans?
Yeah, I think it's a little TBD, and I love that you guys thought of this topic for today, because I think this idea of branding, it's certainly happening a lot more, right? And I'm curious to see how this grows as maybe the year goes by, or as maybe a couple years go by, because I think it's a little TBD, and I think the answer will kind of come in time, to be determined, and kind of see how these rebrandings go for these different artists. I know, for example, Treasure, who is the latest boy band under YG Entertainment, at the top of 2025, they announced that they would be going through a change in terms of their leadership, that every year or so they would be changing leaders. Every 1 or 2 years, the members would change and who was leading the group. And that was just sort of to refresh their ideas, to refresh the concepts, to refresh the focus. And, this year was a big year for Treasure. They not only had their first U.S. tour, they were able to release their first albums under a U.S. label. So, at least with international fans, I think we're seeing, as long as, this means good things, good opportunities, better chances for the future, I think no one will ultimately complain about it. But I think it's also needs to be seen a little bit, because if everyone just kind of changes things when something's not working, or they don't think they're being successful enough, it might get a little confusing. But for now, I think it's kind of, lots of fans are trusting that this is the right reason, and ultimately they're in love with the artists themselves and the people behind them. So whether they change their name, their concept, their sound, hopefully they're going to still love the artist no matter what.
Right, but let's talk a little bit more about the potential concerns or risks. In some cases, there are groups that have to change their name inevitably as they move to a different agency. That was the case with Highlight and Bubugol, or BB Girls. And also recently there was former Nowadays, which changed its name to Nows, and they haven't even debuted that long ago. So tell us a little bit about some of the concerns with rebranding.
Yeah, I mean, name recognition is huge. And I think especially, those two examples you brought up with Highlights and BB Girls, who were formerly known as Beast and Brave Girls. These were very popular artists that had #1 hits, right? #1 albums. And I think this is kind of an unfortunate reality of kind of the industry and the music industry in general. And it's not limited to Korea, but many times the labels are not willing to give up the rights to the name or the artist's copyright, whatever it might be. We've seen some successful cases. For example, GOT7 under JYP was able to move successfully and use their name. I actually believe with Highlight, they were recently able to use the Beast name again, but it's years after the fact that they specifically changed the Highlight upon moving labels. But it's tough because there's kind of that name recognition, and you kind of almost have to reintroduce yourself, or really hope that your music is going to reach people once again, and that you're despite the fact that your name isn't there. There was a great example was when Beyonce and Jay-Z released an album together, a joint album, but they released it under the Carters, which is their, Jay-Z's last name. But no one got alerted to this album coming out because people follow Beyonce, they follow Jay-Z, but they don't follow the Carters. So it's always tricky, even if you're the biggest artist in the world, and throw that now to Nows, who changed from to Nowadays, who changed to Nows. I love the name Nowadays, but also maybe they weren't feeling like the name Nowadays was giving them the recognition they want. So, refresh, get people excited. You can get a couple more headlines because your name's Nows, and see kind of what happens from there. I think it can kind of go both ways, and there could be benefits and also potential downsides both ways. So it's really interesting, especially to see kind of what happened with Nows, because their new single is quite good, but I think it's almost like they really wanted people to pay attention then with this song.
Right.
I see what you're saying there. And just quickly, last but not least, how do you think the process of rebranding will affect the sustainability of K-pop artists?
Well, you'd like to think, right, that it's going to be a positive thing ultimately. A group like Highlight, for example, they've had a long career. It's been wonderful to see how even as they changed from Beast to Highlight, they were able to establish their own company, and they've been able to kind of continue, bring in trainees onto their company, debut a new boy band in The Wind. But, I think it always runs the risk of just kind of everything feeling, for lack of a better word, I guess, like without having like the human side and the heart to it anymore. I think if a group can just change their names 5 million times, it just kind of loses a bit of meaning like that. And I will say, just for what it's worth, is that it seems like the bigger labels really don't tend to change their artist names too often. They really kind of commit and invest in those artists. But I understand if it's, smaller labels are able to do that or trying to do something new. But yeah, I guess a name is a name. Anyone can change their name, right? But I think ultimately we just gotta remember the humans, the artists that are involved, and hopefully keep that in focus. No matter if you change your name, your concept, your sound, whatever it might be, don't forget there's a lot of hardworking people behind those names.
Right. All right. Thank you very much, Jeff. I hope you'll stay Jeff until the next time we talk to you, and have a great day.
You too, guys. Happy summer.
Night. And thank you, Walter. We're going to see you back here tomorrow.
See you very soon.
Thank you for spending the past half an hour with us on The Culture Wave. Please join us again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.